Hi, Drafting10. This is another 3D video here. We're using Onshape. I'm going to pick something that's got more rounded features and it's got some fillets on it and a definite material, gray cast iron, and sort of more cylindrical shapes and interesting techniques in 3D. And so that's what we're going to do today, and that should get you a little further down the road in the 3D units, give you a few more tools for your tool belt. So the one I'm going to do in this video is support hub. Support hub. So I'm going to go back to my Onshape and create one for support hub. Create document. Support hub. Okay, and as usual, I'm going to use the front face for this. And because it's a circular object, it's easiest just to start from the middle and kind of work your way outward. So I'm gonna focus first on this back cylindrical piece, which has a diameter of 102, and I'll worry about the thickness or the extrusion upward later, but it looks to be 21. So 102 diameter. We'll start there. All right, so let's start a sketch on that plane, and it's going to need a circle. That circle is going to need a diameter of 102. Okay, so obviously it's huge in comparison to the current size of the front plane. Not strictly necessary to change the size of the front plane, but I often do. Select the escape a couple times here. Grab my front plane. So I should accept my sketch first. That would be helpful. And then, I can make it significantly bigger. Let's see if that makes me feel any better about my drawing. Oh, sure, why not? Okay, so that's, obviously now that's big enough. So I've got the 102, and I have to check to see if that borehole goes all the way through the object, and I believe it does. It does not have a depth, so whatever this borehole is, it does go out the back of this support hub, so I might as well factor that into my drawing right now. You can do all of these features either at the beginning before you extrude forward, or you can do them after you've made sort of the basic hub part, the back part there. Either is fine. I'm just deciding in my head right now which way I want to go. I think I'll cut them out. I think I'll extrude these out instead of cutting them or building them this way inside of the initial sketch. So I'm going to build just this back flat plate, and then I'm going to worry about these slots later. However, I am going to build it knowing that this inner bore is going to be required. Actually, you know what? Change my mind. I'm not going to do that either. I might as well build this back part and then build this front part and then do an extrusion through the entire object at once, because then I only have to do it once instead of having to do it once for the back object and once for the little nose piece. So excuse my rambling, just making decisions on the fly here. So this is all this is going to be is essentially a circle that I'm going to extrude into a cylinder, and it doesn't really matter which way I go. I'll go that way. 21, I believe, was the depth on that. And 21 is the thickness of that piece. So make sure that that's 21. There we go. And it also is filleted. You can tell it's got a fillet there. I'll take care of that later. There's a fillet here, a fillet where it joins the nose, and a fillet at the end of the nose. Those are all R2. I'll just do those last. I usually tend to try to do the fillets as the last piece, kind of detail work. So let's select the front face of this, and let's build this nose piece. This nose piece is 45 and has a diameter of 45 as well. So that should be easy to remember. Go back to my front face. Should probably accept that first. Go back to my front face. I will select you can see I've got the front face of that object as well. And now it's a matter of just putting in another sketch, drawing another circle. And that 45 is the diameter of that one. So that's great. And I could also put another drawing on this. for the inner bore, which I believe had a diameter of 18. 25, diameter 25, 45. Okay, so this is threaded, and we're just going to use the 25. We're not going to worry about the threading right now, so I'm going to use that first number there, 25. So this inner hole here is 25 in diameter. There we go. And then let's accept it, and we'll do some extruding. So I'll just take that piece right there, and I will extrude it forward. And that piece came out 45, I believe, 45 centimeters. So that's great. And you'll notice I didn't select that inner part to extrude forward. And the reason I did that is because I want to extrude it backwards. Okay, so this one. It's tough to grab those things. Extrude this upwards, 45. Go. So I've got that extrusion. So you can see I've got a hole through the nose piece, but then it hits the object there. What I need to do now is I need to extrude this backwards through the other piece there. So I can just do another, make sure I've got that selected in the sketch, and then I can do another extrusion. And this time I can extrude that the other way so that it goes through the object. And I'm going, you see how it's adding to it? Make sure you hit the remove. That's what you want to remove that so that it's actually a hole in the object. Bore all the way through. So I've got that handled. So there's another extrusion. Remember, the first extrusion was just to make this back plate. The second extrusion was to bring the nose part forward minus the center bore. And the third one was taking that measurement for the center bore, which I had on sketch 2, and just bringing it backwards so that it went through this back portion. Put all those together, and you've got the object you see in front of you. And now we've got some other features that we've got to take care of, a bit more detail. Let's take care of these slots. So these started out as a well, there's a bolt circle there that I can see is where's my bolt circle? It'll be in here somewhere. There it is, 83. So that's an 83 diameter bolt circle, and then top, bottom, left, right. We have on those an R6. So that's a diameter of 12. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle at those 4 points, and then I am going to I'm just going to use straight lines to cut that out, and then I am going to extrude them. So let's go back to this object here, and I'm going to hide stuff that's just going to make my life a little easier. I'm going to go to the front view. Okay, so everything's nice and straightforward. I'm going to make sure that I'm clicking on this plane because I don't want anything selected on the nose part. I just want to deal with this plane. And then I'm going to make sure that in my sketch that I create, I need to make sure that I am using vertical lines and horizontal lines when I'm lining these things up. So I've got my sketch here, and I need a bolt circle that's going to be a dimension line, a construction line. I'll draw it first, so I'll just go to my circle tool, and I believe that was a diameter of 83. And don't forget, you can turn these into, construction lines with, I forget which one it is. It's one of these lines. That's the one right there. So I've got that set up as a construction line right now. Just keep my line straight. Draw another line. I could do some polar arraying here. And this is just to find top dead center of the object. And I could do the same thing down, or I could do a polar array. So I think it makes sense to do a polar array, probably easier. But should I do that now, or should I build the cutout first? I should probably build the dimensions for the cutout first before I array it. It'd make more sense. All right, so let's start with this one that's dead center. I'm going to make sure that I'm dead top center here and on my front view. Then I can just draw a circle. I'm going to switch this back to a regular line. And I do need the intersection of those 2 points right there. And I don't appear to be able to grab that. So I'm not sure if there's another constraint that I need turned on here, but okay, it doesn't seem to be grabbing the intersection, the coincident plane there, and I'm not sure why. Okay, that's fine though, because I can really just get rid of the bolt circle. It's not that big a deal. And the reason I can do that is because if that bolt circle is 83, then that means that from any point from the center of the circle, 83 will get me to where that needs to go. So if I just delete this, make my life easier, I'll just draw a construction line, just a straight line, and just gotta make sure that I'm going vertically. And then if I go 83 is the diameter, so I need to go 41.5 would be the radius. So 41.5. That gets me to the point where that circle is, and I should be able to grab the center of that circle without issues. So there we go, because that's an endpoint, and the radius of that cutout chunk was 6, I believe, so that is a diameter of 12. So that's going to be a 12. 12. There we go, and now I need to find the area to cut from the left and right sides of the circle, and that's easy enough. Just go this way and then up, and anywhere through the object is fine. And then do the same thing on the other side with the line tool. And then there we go. And that, I'll just join these two again with the line tool, because I want to have an enclosed face that I can use for an extrusion. I'm trimming these sections that I don't need. Also helpful. Don't need that line anymore. Don't need that line. Okay, and I actually don't even need this construction line, so I can get rid of it. You could leave it or you can get rid of it. And we'll use this as our basis for extruding back through this object and out the backside. And then once I get that dialed in nicely, I will just use a polar array to get the other 3 and kind of try to do all 4 of them at once. All right, so I'm going to select that piece, and then I'm going to do some sort of polar array. It's called something different on this one. Linear pattern, and under there is a circular pattern. That's really just an array. So we'll select circular pattern. We'll select the piece that needs to go in a circular pattern. The array, there we go. So that should, better get the top one there too, eh? That one. Except that we want to have this as 360 degrees. My starting point's wrong. Probably best just to get rid of that. Control Z, panic. And then just do it again. So I'm going to select. You know what, if I hide some of this other stuff, it might be easier. If I hide sketch 1, it'd be easier. Grab those 4 pieces again. Then I will use a polar array. Y is default to 3 times. Sure, I want it to be 4. Okay, so there is 4, and those should be top, dead center, left, and right. And I can check that for sure to make. I can check that for sure after I've accepted this. So I will accept that on my sketch, and that it looks right. But remember, we never trust it looks right. We always have to double check here. So if I go back into that sketch and go into edit and just run a quick check here, if I were to grab a line and put it straight vertical, it should go through that center point, and it does. That is a horizontal line. That is a horizontal line, and it appears to be going right through the center of that arc. So everything is good. I can just close it out, and now I can extrude them all at once. So if I select that chunk, and that chunk, and that chunk, and that chunk, and just give myself a little bit of a turn here, and then I extrude the object, and I'm going to subtract, and I am going to be extruding this way. So I can grab the arrow, or you can do it over here too. So I'm just going to extrude that this way, and as you can see, it is making those holes, except for whatever reason, I have a tiny little circle there, and I suspect that was me just hitting the wrong keystroke. So I'll just grab that as well. Hitting the wrong keystroke and accidentally putting a tiny little circle in there when I meant to make it R or diameter 12. I probably hit diameter 1 by accident, so that's that little circle. Not a big deal. I just included it in my extrusion. Get rid of my extrusion, and that appears to have done what I wanted it to do. I'll go back to my front view, and if I'm being picky, I should go back to that sketch. Sketch number 3 is where I would have done it, and I should go back and just zoom in on that little and see, yeah, see there's a little circle there that I didn't intend to do. I'll just get rid of it. And sometimes you can do that sort of thing, and it won't mess up your extrusion. Sometimes it will mess up your extrusion because it's expecting that there was a, yeah, see there, it's caused a problem. No big deal. I mean, if that happens, you just go back to your sketch and make sure your sketch is fixed. And just double check and make sure that that circle is no longer there. And you know what? I don't need these little chunks either. So those were just to help me find the center point of that. But they are no longer necessary. I'll leave that point there. That's not going to hurt us at all because that's just measuring the center point. Okay, so I got rid of that tiny little circle. No, I didn't have to. Yes, I feel better now that I got rid of it. So there's a face of the extrusion, and then we're just going to redo that last step where I select all the faces that I want to extrude or cut out of this object. Then we do our extrusion, and then I'm going to change the direction of the extrusion so that it's going from the front of the object out the back. As you can see right now, it thinks that I want to add legs to it because I need to hit the remove part so that it knows that I'm cutting it out instead of adding to it. And that looks pretty good, so let's hit that. We'll go back to the front view, and then we'll see how we're doing on the rest of this stuff. Okay, so that part's looking pretty good. Got those cut out. I've got that bore and running through, and now I see I've got bores through the nose piece, and those bores are 10 diameter. And how do I know how far in they go? You can tell right there. It's 22 from the front of the nose. So 22 back in, and then 10 straight through. Okay, so let's look at what we need to do to make that happen. 22, I can't measure the 22 along the nose from here. I'm going to need a different view. So if I look at the top view, okay, that's bottom, but okay. So I look at the top view, and I'm just kind of nosing forward ahead of time. What I really need to do is go in here, 22, and then drill straight through that. So if I look at the top view, this is the plane I'm looking at right here. And the potential issue is that this is a rounded surface. I mean, it looks flat from here because it's an orthographic view, but as soon as I tilt it a little bit, you can see it's clearly a rounded surface. So how do I put a plane on a rounded surface? Because you always have to have a sketch plane or a plane in order to put a sketch on it, in order to make the hole, to make the bore through the object. And I'm going to have to do the same thing on the left/right side. Okay, so when we're on our top view, if I try to select that, look what it actually selects. It's not just that, it's the entire outer surface of that piece. Is that going to cause me problems? Okay. Create a sketch. Okay, now look what I'm trying to sketch. It says, what's your sketch plane? Okay. It says, select a sketch plane. Okay, and you'll notice that I cannot select this. And the reason I cannot select this is because this is, in fact, a rounded surface. So that's what can cause some problems when you're going to be putting a bore on a rounded surface or anything like that. So we've got to find a way around that, or find a better way to create a sketch plane where we want it to be. So the most logical thing that we can do is use this top view. So if you have it toggled off, make sure you turn it on. Let's use this top sketch plane. And if I just rotate it a little bit, give you an idea of what I'm planning. There's lots of different ways to do that. There's lots of different ways to create a plane. But given that the top of this object is here, it means that our bore hole needs to go somewhere around there. We notice that it is perfectly, parallel with our top plane. In fact, it lies right on the top plane. The only thing is our top plane isn't very big right now, so it might not look like this is an appropriate solution. But what we're going to do is I'm just going to increase the size of this top plane. And because this top plane is oriented directly at the midpoint, so you can see the origin there, that little series of black circles there. That is directly halfway, if you look at it in the front view, so it is halfway vertically and horizontally, which means that plane is right, or this little center point here is right at the rear of the object. And we can see that on the top view. It's right at the rear of the object, which means I can measure a distance about how far to go out just using this existing plane. And I don't necessarily have to move it either up or down. I just need to get it in the right place so that it's hovering, in the middle of the object where that borehole needs to go. And I can determine that from the measurement. So if I look at my top view right here, I'm just going to grab the edge of my top plane, and I'm holding down Shift just so it increases proportionally on all sides. Okay, again, not 100% strictly necessary, but I do like my planes to be at least bigger than my object. Makes me feel better. And I need to measure from here to the point down here where that bore, that hole needs to go through the nose, top and bottom. Okay, and I already know that plane is dead center. If we're talking about vertically up and down, it's also dead center left and right. So if I am on that top view, bottom view, top view. Okay, here I just need to go due south, okay, or 270 degrees until I get to that circle center. So we know it's 22 from the front of the object, and I know the whole object is 21 plus 45 is 66. So 66 minus 22, this is 44 units from the very back of the object. Okay, so I need to move that line down 44 units, and that will give me the center of this hole. We'll worry about the other one later. Okay, so let's do that. So we are here. We need to come somewhere around here. It needs to be due south 40. I need to put a new sketch on. I have selected the plane that I want the sketch for, so I'll hit Sketch. I'll pick the line. I'll make it a con line. And then I'm just going to go due south 44 units. And that should be where that borehole goes. And then it's a matter of creating a circle on that sketch. And those diameter 10, I believe, diameter 10, yeah. So there's your 10 diameter hole. And now I can extrude that. And when you extrude, you don't necessarily have to go up or down. You can go both directions at once. So you see how I've got that circle on my front plane? If you ever have any trouble finding things, or you notice things are hidden, or you're having trouble clicking on something, you can always go turn your part off down here. Just hit that thing, and then it makes it a little easier to grab that. You can turn your part back on after. It doesn't really matter. So I've got that circle on the top plane selected, and my goal is going to be to use that circle to extrude and remove up and down at the same time, so I don't have to do it twice. Okay, so I've got that piece selected. Now let's go to extrude. Okay, I do want to remove, and where it says blind, okay, I'm going to go through all, okay, and I'm going to go symmetric. Actually, blind will work fine too. I didn't necessarily need to go through all. So I will go symmetrically, which means it should go both up and down at the same time. You see how right there, you can sort of see the red from the center point there. Okay, it's going both ways. So as long as I pulled it through on the bottom, it should have pulled through on the top, and I'll have that hole. Again, it doesn't matter how far I go as long as I go past the object. I mean, you could make it perfect and just make it go, up to a vertex or through all or whatnot, but it's certainly not necessary. So there we go. So that has removed that, and that's given us our accurate borehole there. And we know that there's another one on this side. And we can really, again, there's multiple ways of doing this, but we can really just use what we've already got here, which is a right plane. I'll turn the top one off for now. And let's look where our right plane is oriented, okay? Now we're looking at it from an end view, from the left view, and we will note that that right plane is dead center, okay, when it comes to moving this direction. Okay, so remember our X, Y, Z plane, we were looking at it like this. Sorry, we were not. We were looking at it from the top view. We were looking at it like this originally in our front view. So we're looking at the Y-X axis, but now because we need to go on this side, we are looking at either the left or the right. It doesn't matter. And instead of using the top plane, we're going to use the right plane because it's already oriented in the right place. It's dead on the origin. That little center point there on the plane is lined up perfectly with the back of the object. So really, I'm doing the exact same thing I was before. I'm just doing it in a slightly different direction. Okay, I'll just turn my part off. Actually, I won't. I'm going to make my... So increasing the size of my right plane just so it includes my entire object, not 100% necessary. Now I need to draw a line from here out the same distance, I believe it was 44, to on this plane, and then I can extrude that symmetrically both up and down, or left and right, however you want to think about it, to make the hole on both sides of the nose. Okay, so let's make we're on the proper plane, we're on the right plane, excuse me, and we'll create a sketch. And same thing as before, I'm just going to take the line tool, construction line from the back, and I just got to make sure I'm going in a perfectly horizontal manner, and it snaps there. And then I believe it was 44. Okay, and if that is correct, I'm going to draw a circle of diameter 10. There's my circle, and accept that sketch. Okay, now I could try to grab it, but now I'm just grabbing the nose, right? So again, it's really simple. Just turn the part off, grab what you need to grab, and now we'll turn the part on, and then I will do my extrusion, which is going to remove, and I want it to be symmetric. Let me just go both up and down, and then I just need to grab it with the arrow, see where it is, and as I pull this way, it's going to go the other way as well. See that? And right through. As long as I'm through the object on this side, it'll also be through on the other side because it's all symmetric. Okay, and now you'll notice that we have those other bore holes, having used the right plane instead of the top plane this time. I can hide my right plane, and our object, I think, has all of the features it needs. Now it's just a matter of kind of fine-tuning it for materials and for the fillets. So the next thing on our list here is go back. I've got that hole, okay, so I've got those 4 holes, I've got the nose, I've got the inner bore, I've got these features, everything looks really good. And now I need to do a fillet for that, and that, and it says all fillets are R2. So I'm looking at radius 2 fillets. So sometimes you have to play around with the fillet tool a little bit to make sure that you're filleting only the sections that you want to. On our drawing, our fillets are on the outside of this object and where it hits the nose, and then also at the end of the nose. But we also note that it wasn't filleted in this area here. Those are represented by hard lines on the drawing. So that's a hard line there, that's a hard line there. The back of the object is a hard line. And then all these bores, all these holes, those are all hard, thick lines as well. So those aren't filleted. So the easiest way to fillet on Onshape is to grab the face of an object and fillet it. But there's going to be a problem with that, and you'll see it in a second here. So if I go grab my fillet tool and I'm filleting 2 centimeters, okay, you can see in the preview that it's also filleting, and it's filleting anything that this face touches. So it's filleting the edges, it's also filleting where it hits the nose, and because these cutout areas are part of that top face, it's filleting them as well. And I don't want that part filleted, so that is inconvenient. I can't just use that quick method, so I'm just going to cancel that because that's not going to work. However, if you just one by one manually select the edges that you do want to fillet, you can take care of that. So instead of selecting everything, I'm just going to select this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge, this edge. Okay, and I think I can select that one. Nope, I accidentally grabbed the entire face. That's not what I wanted. See, same thing happened. So I didn't want that. I'll have to do that second one later, where it hits the nose. So first I'll get the outside pieces here, these 4 quadrants. Now when I fillet these, because these aren't selected, it should just fillet the areas that I want. So let's go to our fillet tool. Okay, it is radius, circular, radius, and accept. Okay, now that looks more like what we want. Okay, so that edge is filleted, but these cutout areas are still sharp. Okay, now I'm going to need to do another one because I need to fillet where this hits this, and that's just going to be based on that line alone. So I'm doing it based on edges, not on surfaces right now. So let's fillet that at 2 as well. Exact same thing. Okay, so that looks good. You can see it fillets where it hits the nose of the object. Everything that's supposed to remain a sharp edge, a hard edge, is still a hard edge, so that's looking good. And then the only other place we have to do it is right there. So once again, I'm going to grab the edge because I don't want the inner portion to be rounded. I just want this outer part to be rounded. Grab my fillet, another R2. Okay, now it looks like, so I have 3 fillets. I have nose here, where the nose hits the base, and then the edge of the base, not including these features. Quick double check. Okay, nose hits base, and then these little quadrant arcs here, but not including that. So that all looks great. We're looking at gray cast iron for a material, so we're, this is done. Okay, assuming we've done our measurements and checked everything over, that part is done. And now we can just sort of play with materials or appearance as we see fit. If I right-click on my part, let's assign a material for that part. And it was gray cast iron. I don't know if that's in here. Cast iron. There's a regular cast iron. That's fine. Grab that, and then I might as well go to my appearance. And and just grab something that's kind of grayish. If it's gray cast iron, it's probably, probably something like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's just supposed to give you an idea of what this object would actually look like. So I'll select that. There you go. Part done. There isn't really anything you can do for people who are asking or thinking about, well, what can you do about these lines? Can you blend those lines in somewhat? There are ways sometimes to combine these two faces and in doing so get rid of that line, but it doesn't always work. And in general, it's acceptable to leave them, okay? So it is acceptable to leave lines like that and the lines that you see from the filleting on either side. Some 3D software renders certainly better than others. This is a web-based version, so I don't think it has a whole lot of capability for rendering things like that out. It's actually really good at what it does, given that it's web-based, but that might be asking a bit too much, is to have that perfectly perfectly rendered 3D model. All right, so that's done. Remember, it's auto-saving the entire time, so you don't really have to go back and save it. And you should be able to fillet and bevel and work with planes. Another couple tools for your tool belt. And as always, if you have any questions, let me know.